Welcome to Ammon Answers Podcast. This is Aaron Welling, sitting here with Ammon the Man. We're coming to you, answering your questions that are coming to the campaign. Some hot news. I guess it's about a week old, but I think it's still relevant. Homeless in Boise. Apparently, he took a trip to the Capitol. There's a whole bunch of people camping out there, huh?
Yeah, so I got some pictures, they were just sending it to me, and it looked like a, homeless encampment there just across from the state capitol. And I thought, well, and we better go down there and see what's going on. If you've visited Portland lately, it's unbelievable. Or any city. Like you go down to Las Vegas. My family lives about 80 miles from Las Vegas, so I've been down there a couple times. And there's entire streets, entire areas that are just completely covered with homeless people, and it's really terrible. I mean, they live right on the street, on the concrete, or wherever. They have these tents, and I mean, it's to me, it's disgusting. It looks like a terrible way to live. There's tons of drugs, and even from time to time, if you're there long enough, you'll see someone defecating on the sidewalk. And the police kind of just abandon the areas. They do. They have to. They can't spend all their time there. And so they almost abandon the area unless there's something major that goes on there. And every once in a while, a mayor or, somebody, commissioners or something will say, we're going to clean that area up and make them all move. And they just move to another area. And so when I saw this in Boise, I was a little concerned. I was a little nervous about what was going on there because that's exactly what it looked like.
So I saw some of the news, I think on Channel 7, saying something like they demanding human rights. I think the rights was everyone has a right to a warm bed. Now, you've done some research. You figured some stuff out that there's plenty of vacant warm beds, not government, but charity provided.
Yeah, because, I got up this morning, walked to my truck, and I turned around and went and got my jacket because it was very cold. The wind's blowing, and I just can't imagine trying to stay outside in this weather. And so, your heartstrings are, pulled on a little bit, thinking that someone might not have a warm place to stay. And so, you might sympathize with this effort, for people to say, hey, there's homeless people out here and we need to take care of them. But the reality is in Boise and throughout Idaho is those people have beds to go to. They have a warm place to stay. For example, Boise Rescue Mission has, I think, right around 500 beds. And that night we checked, they had around 300 of them that were full. So there was another 200 beds that were full, and they can go in there and get a warm meal and stay there. And so, and it's not paid for by the government. This is paid for by people that, out of goodwill, have donated to Boise Rescue Mission so that they can take people in and make sure they have a warm place to stay. And so anybody can do that. They open their doors to anybody. So this is not about people needing a warm place to stay. They have that.
Yeah, the system's in place, but they want something different. I didn't hear this firsthand. This came, I heard it from someone else, right, reporting that they were actually, requesting that we just need $1,500 or up to $2,000 a month, and we'll take care of ourselves.
Yeah, so that's actually came through me. I went down there and I spoke to I spoke to multiple people there. But the first lady I spoke to was a young woman, and she was actually dressed in some designer clothing and stuff. And she must have been advocating for the homeless because she certainly didn't seem like she was homeless. And she opens up her phone and she begins to read, like word for word, this script about why they were there. And I could tell at that point that this was something else going on. It wasn't just the homeless saying we need help. This was some organization that was backing this and pushing this. And ultimately, what her solution, her suggestion for solution was, and what they were pushing is that the homeless just get a blank check. And it come from the city or it come from the state, $1,500 to $2,000 check. And when I asked her, well, what were the conditions on that? Well, there wouldn't be any conditions, but it would get them to get their own homes. And you and I both know that that's not true. That money will be spent mostly to feed an addiction. And so it would just, all it would do is just increase the problem, subsidize the problem.
That brings me to I don't know if it was a meme or something I saw, but from the U.S. Forest Service, something. Let's see.
Yeah, so I actually got that.
You got
here.
that?
Yeah,
Okay.
we were talking about it earlier. It said the food stamps program is administered by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. They proudly reported that they distributed free meals and food stamps to over 46 million people on an annual basis. So they're, basically bragging about that. Well, interesting enough, the National Park Service is also under it's under the Department of Interior. The Forest Service is under the Department of Agriculture. But it asked, please do not feed the animals. Their stated reason for this policy being that the animals will grow dependent on the handouts and they will never learn to take care of themselves.
That's from like the same federal agency. Two different things.
Yeah, you got exactly. And it's just, one is explaining or asking people to not do something because of the reality of what happens when you feed an animal or people without them having to work and earn it, and they understand that, but yet here they are promoting and touting that they've been feeding 46 million people on an annual basis.
Yeah, so I think there's something different, something underlying at play. People pushing narratives. Like you said, the lady looked like she was reading a script. There's been some thought and planning and preparation for these demonstrations and protests. And hey, that's our society set up to do that, but it's becoming on us that we find out what the true intentions, what's the real goal. And my big problem with government is they're never big enough. They're always growing, never shrinking, and taking what wasn't given. And these types of programs is what enables that. Well, we have to feed, we have to house, but don't feed the animals.
Well, see what they you're right. And what they're after though is they're after this government funding. They want the government to pay for their living. And that is socialism, where the government takes by force from somebody else and gives it to another person through some program or whatever. And that's what they're after. Because they already have a way to take care of. We already have a way to take care of the homelessness.
Right. Not through socialism, but through charity.
That's right, through charity, not through welfare, not through government, socialism, but through charity. And people, which is amazing, and I can't say enough about Boise Rescue Mission. They are not government funded. They don't take government funds. And that's why we need to support institutions like Boise Rescue Mission that's been going on since the 50s. And they're filling a need there that is a true need. And they're doing it through charity. But these people, that's not good enough for them. They want the government to give them a weekly or a monthly check. They want to live off everybody else and not produce for themselves. They want to be able to do their drugs, or at least they want to use the people that are doing their drugs to get these funds in place. And it's a problem in Idaho. It's a real problem, and I think we're going to talk a little bit about that. But that's what they wanted, not necessarily to take care of the homeless.
I think it was Channel 7. A gentleman, represented the side of the protesters, but then also asked good questions. And one of them was like, well, aren't there available spaces at these local charities? And the woman was very forthcoming. She's like, yeah, but a lot of the people don't want to follow the rules that the charity has established. Well, guess what? We have rules as a nation. Why would our rule, if we were to take on this responsibility as a government, why would they expect us not to have the same rules? Like, you can't do drugs here.
Yeah, so Boise Rescue Mission and the others, they have, they're a Christian institution, and they have their standards. They can't just allow people to come in there into a room or into their areas and just start shooting up. They don't allow them to drink. There's certain standards so that everybody in there can be protected and have a safe place to be. And there's many of the homeless that will choose to actually live out on the street, even in these very cold conditions, because they don't want to abide by those rules, even if it's just for a few hours, because they could go in there, stay the night, and then leave. They don't have to stay in there, from what I understand, for a long period of time, and go in there, stay the night, and then leave. Well, I'm sorry, like when you've got to that level where you just can't govern yourself even for a few hours. I mean, that's a serious problem that we have. But let's make it very clear. It's not that warm rooms are not available. They
Right.
are. And so this demonstration by whoever's putting it on, which isn't the homeless, it's somebody else. It's basically saying we want all these government money and funds with no accountability whatsoever, none. And they're using the homeless in order to get that. And these are the things that we must watch out for in Idaho.
So let's talk about that then. What? Because I know you love researching, you love getting into the weeds and finding stuff out. Yeah. Do you have any examples you can share with us on like what the current leadership or current policies that are in place that are encouraging this type of government action?
So Idaho is increasing its health and welfare services by an extreme amount. For example, just shy of 40% of the state budget is going to basically welfare, health and welfare services. That's $4 billion just last year. Governor Little right now is increasing the government housing programs. I think he's allotting over $200 million for that. And Idaho right now under our, Republican leadership, if you will, we have increased the food stamps program more than any other state in the union. And so these are the things that we are doing
I think Brad actually did a press conference where he touted we've done more in food stamps.
Yeah,
it's an accomplishment.
Well, it's just like the Department of Agriculture here touting we fed 46 million people, right? And then you got another department or agency in that same department says stop feeding the bears, stop
right.
feeding the animals, and there are principles that we must follow. They're conservative principles, and you don't encourage, drugs. You don't encourage homelessness. You don't encourage dependency. And how do you do that? You don't take money from other people by force and give it to other people and make them dependent. You don't. You allow charity, you allow churches and families and individuals to help other people temporarily to get them back on their feet, and you don't use the government to do it.
And you allow business to hire them. I mean, I have not gone past a fast food joint, which is the lowest bar of entry, I think, of most work,
right,
paying $13 to $17 an hour, and they're all hiring nonstop for almost 2 years. Yep. So it's not like there's not a way. We want everyone to have warm beds. We want to have designer clothes, good food, all that stuff. But it's individuals' responsibility, and our system provides all of it. We're all going to have hard times. Charities picking up that when hard times fall on people. So I feel like we got a good system here.
Well, we do. I mean, you can go down to McDonald's, get a job for $14, $15 an hour, right? Now that's not enough to provide for a family. You and I both know that, but it's enough to provide for an individual under certain conditions. And there's no getting around that. We have an affordable housing crisis. Inflation has gone crazy thanks to our president. Fuel, everything. So we have those problems that make it even more difficult. But taking money from other people when there's already these issues going on to redistribute it to people who aren't willing to work for themselves is only going to make that problem even much worse, because then someone goes and gets a job for $14 an hour because they're trying to get themselves out of the rut of this dependency. They go get it, and a third of that's taken by the state so they can turn around and give it to somebody else. And that's not how you get out of the situation you're in. You need to be able to keep the wealth that you have. You need to be able to use it to, rent and then, educate yourself, maybe get a better job and keep doing that. And that's how you do it. And so you don't do it by more government programs and more government spending. And we're talking about in Idaho, $4 billion just last year going to the Department of Health and Human Services, and that's your welfare programs.
Wow. Well, some of the questions that have come in are, okay, you went down there, you saw them, You have your position on it. You're now sitting as the governor. What do you have in mind to do to kind of to address this?
Yeah, well, we are. I mean, to make it very, very simple, and I have to do that, but because there's a lot of moving parts. But basically, to transfer this effort of the government redistributing wealth and trying to provide all these institutions and replacing the family and the church and the individual, the government, rather than the government doing that, we're going to transfer that and push that back upon families, churches, individuals, and there's a responsible way to do that to make sure it's successful. And it's going to take several years to do that, but churches should play a huge role, just like Boise Rescue Mission. That's what they do, and they're so good at. They're so much better at it than any government institution that you go to. So much better at it, and it's because they have these principles and they have these standards, and every dime they get is like sacred funds to them. So they spend it, in a way that truly helps the individual. Well, we need to push these wasteful government, programs, and get the churches doing what they used to do, and get the families strengthening, so we don't have so many people that are, dependent on drugs and so forth. And that's what we need to do. Support the family, support the church, and support the individual.
Got it. Okay. Now, we don't need to spend too much time on it, but your Keep Idaho, Idaho also kind of addresses it, because housing prices are really high, and that's because there's a shortage of land. Looking for a building lot is really, they're hard to find. And so you kind of address that as a separate issue, like, hey, let's bring housing to be affordable, because we've got kids, you've got people of all different walks of life, and they're just having a hard time getting it. So it's real, and there's something that we can do, and you've already addressed that. But I think we talked about this.
Go to votebundy.com, go to the Keep Idaho plan, and read through that, and get familiar with that, and also subscribe to votebundy.com. Go there and subscribe, and I will continue to communicate with you about our plans to, help the affordable housing crisis, to make sure we don't destroy our number one industry, to eliminate property tax so our properties are truly ours, and how we stop the establishment in Idaho taking us down this path that Oregon and Washington and California and Nevada and New Mexico and Colorado, all those states were conservatives. They went down this same path. And Idaho will, for sure, in the direction we're going now, with the leadership we now, become another Oregon. And we're seeing it. We're seeing these incremental things happening in our state that are going to bring us that. And these, food stamp programs, government housing programs, and this massive amount of money that we're spending on a state level for welfare programs will take us right there, because we're attracting the wrong people. We're attracting those people who are looking for programs, and they'll come to Idaho, and then we encourage that when they're here.
Right. Well, let's talk about something else that's popped up. This is from Central District Health.
Yes.
So that's the district that covers Boise, correct?
Yes.
All right. They put up this, I think it was on social media, they put up this poster. And it's titled "Power to Protect Your Family."
Right.
And then it's got this interesting illustration. I'm not sure what it's there. We see the rainbow. We see a pink rabbit kind of head, something hugging.
Non-gender something.
A green.
And they're naked.
They're naked. But they both have their masks in their hands, and they both have Band-Aids on their arm, which I think is illustrating they got the vaccine or the latest booster. But it says at the bottom, learn more about getting vaccinated at cdh.idaho.gov. COVID vaccine, Central District Health. This is government money.
Yeah.
Paid someone to illustrate this, and then their internal staff thought it was a good idea to push it out, and then they have these little emojis at the bottom, rainbow flag, 2 women in front of 2 kids. I'm told that means that's a lesbian family. That's kind of a signal for it, with the arm flexing, like, we got this. And it's like, what? Now, full disclosure, I'm told that they took it down. It was only up for a little bit. They took it down. But what on earth is government doing that?
This is showing who is in the Central District Health. It's infiltrated with the woke LGBTQ plus or whatever, negative. It's clear full of people, and that's who's infiltrated our governments on a city levels and on a state level. They've infiltrated our government, and they're testing the waters. Let's send this out. It's full of just gay innuendos everywhere. It's got the flag and two genderless naked people that have been vaccinated holding masks, and they're hugging each other. It's got the emojis down here of a lesbian family and the rainbow flag, and the entire thing is a disgusting LGBT woke flyer, and it's paid for by the government, by Central District Health. And we have to wake up here in Idaho. We have to understand that the very same things that are happening in these other cities and these other states is happening right here in Idaho. And if we don't correct it, if we don't watch out for who is infiltrating our government, well, guess what they start pushing on us? This type of crap.
And they probably only retracted because a lot of people spoke out about it.
Oh, yeah, that's all. They're
testing the water, but they're also desensitizing.
That's correct.
Right?
But I think what's so telling is it tells you who is inside the Central District Health.
Right.
Who is there? Who is filled the seats, the bureaucratic seats in the Central District Health. And it tells you who they are. And they are, woke, liberal individuals who think that this type of, messaging is okay and should be promoted enough that they created the art and everything about it. There is no gender. They're naked. They're hanging on to each other. Their faces are weird. They're not even like. They're weird. They're and then they got masks they're holding on to. They've got a vaccine or Band-Aid. And then there's a rainbow flag behind it. And then they're calling it power to protect your family. This is not okay. I think this is what we have to fight against. And popular or not popular, like me or not, this is what we need to fight against. We need to fight against it happening in our in our cities, in our health districts, in our state, and it is becoming rampant, and it will destroy Idaho just as it has the other states.
As business owners, we look for red flags in our operations to see if something is maybe not going right. And, Governor, there's a lot of things, a lot of responsibility. That spot does fund a lot of these different organizations, but if the current establishment is truly conservatives, as they say they are, why is this even being permitted?
Well, so I'm going to get to some notes here because I want to address that. Got to bear with me. My son got a hold of my computer, and he's put 1 million pictures in here. But I got it here. I think it's important enough. Here we go. So you talked about why, if we're a conservative establishment, why our conservative state, Republican state, so forth, and why are we allowing these things to happen, And I want to go down through a list here. You have Tom Luna, who's the chairman of the Republican Party, who 10 years ago had to flee the state because he was funneling education funds into private accounts. You've got Jonathan Parker, who was the previous Republican chairman, who was caught, and I hesitate even saying this, but masturbating in public with a wig on. And so he's actually in jail. They kicked him out. They said, well, you've been caught, so you can't be the chairman for the Republican Party anymore. You got Mike Crapo, who has a DUI. You got Greg Cheney, who's an up-and-coming Republican star, and he's been put in jail and convicted of abusing his wife and saying he's going to commit suicide in front of his children. You've got Butch Otter, who has a DUI. You've got Fred Martin, who's been investigated twice for going into the girls' bathrooms in high schools. You've got others, the couple representatives in the Republican Party that were using state funds to have an affair. You've got Larry Craig, who was caught, I think, in Minnesota. Don't
in the airport, right?
Yeah, in the airport, soliciting homosexual sex. And then you got, our Ada County sheriff who just left, Bartlett, who was, again, a leader in the Republican Party, who had to leave and abandon his sheriff position because he was giving promotions for sexual favors. This is our Republican Party here in Idaho. And then we wonder why we can go for 4 decades and not promote the Republican platform, not lower the size of government, not lower taxes, not get rid of abortion, not strengthen families. I mean, that's because these are the people that are leading us, and they're in control. They've been in control of the House, they've been in control of the Senate, and they've been in control of the governor's office for the last 4 decades.
It's a big hill to climb there.
Yeah.
But it's important that we talk about it, we air it, so people can hear it, because it's. Lisa pointed out that she's like, I miss my husband. All he does is read and write, since you've been on this campaign. And because you're educating yourself, you're getting facts, you're not being swayed by just public opinion. You're getting it, but that's hard. It takes a lot of time, a lot of energy. And some people, if we're working the 9 to 5 and we got kids and sports and homework, by the time you got free time, you're like, I just want to veg. I don't want to think about these things. So hopefully our listeners here will appreciate the amount of effort and time you put in to try to find out these facts, and maybe that'll allow them to do quick searches on their own just to vet it, because you found this all on the internet. It's not like you had to make some backroom deals to get this. It's all there.
Yeah, it's there. It's in the the public records. It's in official documents. It's all there, but I'm very careful to speak about something unless I've been able to fact check it. And in fact, if people go to votebundy.com, they go to events and then virtual town hall, I would encourage them to go to the January 11th virtual town hall, because I laid out some of the things we talked about here, and I give all the evidence of what's going on, and what Governor Little's doing, Scott Bedke, and those type. And then next month I will be doing it again, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this stuff and some of the things that they have done. We in Idaho, we must change our direction, and it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy to turn around the state to get it truly going a conservative way. But we need to, because Idaho has to be different. Idaho must become a refuge for people that want to be free, worship God, that want to be good neighbors, take care of each other, that want to keep the fruits of their labor. We must become a refuge from the rest of the world if need, and where people can come together here and be free. And there must be a place for that to happen. And I believe Idaho is that place, but it's not going to be easy, because we have to clean our own house. We have to get rid of the filth and clean the inner vessel first.
Well, let's get on some happy stuff. This has been kind of gloomy. We've got a concert coming up February 23rd, Colin Ray. It's going to be at Stoney's Roadhouse in Emmett. Just some cool things that you guys may not be aware. There are camping RV spots on the premise, so if people want to come far, there's a place. You bring your RV, you can camp on site. There's also, if you're local and you just don't want to go home at night, right? You just want to party and then stay the night and go home in the morning. That's available, which is kind of cool for this venue. They've got fun stuff to do inside, like bull riding. They got the mechanical bull. I've always wanted to try that, so I may have to get on that one.
I can't wait to see it,
Aaron. They got lots of food vendors.
I'm a little top heavy now, so man, I don't know if I can ride that thing or not.
That's funny. I've never ridden one, so we'll see how I do. But there's some things that maybe you want to talk about. There are sponsorships available, so talk to the people. Tell them what these sponsorships for this concert might look like.
Yeah, so if you go to Vote Bundy and go to events, Colin Ray, it lists them. We've got. If you're a business and you want to sponsor this, you can go in and purchase a sponsor. There's 3 different levels, and we'll promote your name. We have over 50,000 contacts that we'll be able to send this out to, text, emails, other ways. We'll promote it on our website so that you get some good advertising value. but mostly so that you can, buy these sponsors. You might have, there's some that have like 8 people that can come and be at a table. We'll take care of you. A couple of those people you can choose to go meet and greet with Colin Ray. There's of course good food. It's going to be a lot of fun, and then you will have a good seat there, right there, where you can watch the concert and have fun. There's VIP tickets, so you can be up front, and then the atmosphere there is really amazing. I mean, they've done a really, really awesome job at creating a fun atmosphere, with good food and events and so forth. And Colin Ray, he's an amazing artist, and we're just going to have a blast. And we want people to come and, any of the proceeds goes to my campaign. So it goes to promoting and doing the things that we're doing, our videos, this podcast, traveling all over the state. I think now we're like at 116 public events since that we've promoted since I've been announced, and most of those I've spoke at. They're more like town halls or meet and greets or convocations. So I mean, we're getting this word out, and we're doing a lot of good with it, but we need people's support. So if you buy a ticket, you support the campaign. If you can't come for whatever reason, then donate to the campaign that way. And also share this information, share this podcast with everybody you can, so that people can understand, what we're all about, who I am, what I'm standing on, and maybe they'll get confidence that I can be their governor, and we can make some of these changes that need to happen in Idaho.
I think on that point, though, it's good to tell our listeners that this is not just for Idaho voters or residents, right?
Yeah.
People fly into concerts around the world when they're seeing someone. So if you like Colin Ray, this is a cool opportunity. Colin Ray actually reached out to the campaign saying, hey, I support what you're doing. I want to do a fundraiser with you if you're open to it. And so that's...
we have a contact that's friends with him. I'm friends with, he's friends with Colin Ray, and I'm friends with him, and that's how that all happened. And
right.
So, this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, so if you live in Florida or Texas, all these really conservative states, and you really like what's going on there, help us over here in Idaho. We'd love to, go to this concert with them and appreciate their support. And it just helps the movement, because this is we're the United States of America, and we can collect money from anyone in America.
Yeah, and what's happening in Idaho right now, the political climate, and people that have come here and the people that are here, we have a true opportunity here to actually get Idaho right. Idaho's small enough and conservative enough that we can get it right, and we can be that example of how freedom will bring prosperity, happiness, peace, and the rest of the states can look at Idaho. So your money is not wasted donating to my campaign, because Idaho truly has a chance to be conservative and to spread that message of freedom throughout the United States and throughout the world, where other states, it's just, statistically almost impossible, but not Idaho. So we need your support. So give it to us, and we'll keep doing what we're doing.
All right. Well, that wraps us up for another Ammon Answers podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, comment, share, get the word out. We appreciate your support and checking in with us. Until next time, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.